Welcome back, everyone, to another exciting edition. I'm excited for this one for the Broker to Broker podcast. My name is Mark Summers. I am the president of AIM. This one is a little bit exciting for me as well because we had to cancel on each other a couple times. Business is busy, but I'm finally glad that we're able to get together. So today I'll be interviewing the broker owner of Mindful Mortgage Group, Kim Clancy. Kim, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Mark. Nice to see you.
Good to see you as well. We're going to have a little fun with this. After Fuse and just kind of just talking to more and more people, I got even more energized to do these broker to broker podcasts just for the mere fact of we're getting a lot of good feedback with this now. And I know you have a lot of insights. So really excited to listen to what you have to say today. And I'm sure that you're going to give people a wealth of knowledge. So tell me about your background. Tell me about Mindful Mortgage and take it away.
Okay. So I got into the business in 2000 and I started off, I actually thought I was never going to be salesy. I come from a background of like special ed, undergrad, clinical social work was my master's degree. So, I was like salespeople suck, right? And that's just not what I'm ever going to be. And then what happened was I grew up in Philly. And I moved to California because when I was in college, my family moved out there. So I went out there for a little bit. And when I got out there, I realized that like, oh my gosh, it's really expensive to live here on a social work salary. And my mom had just recently become a loan officer. And so there was a company called Nationwide Lending in Irvine, California. And she knew some friends there. They were hiring loan officer assistants. And so I was like, well, I guess I can give it a shot, not even thinking anything like, oh, a sales or anything. Like, okay, well, I get to like wear cute clothes and that's pretty cool. Okay, fine. Right. So I go and it was all men. Every single loan officer was a man. And the girls were only processors and assistants. And there actually wasn't even boy processors or assistants. So I immediately was like, oh, and maybe it's the Philly in me or whatever, I don't know, but I was like, oh, no, this is
Oh,
not.
hell no, right?
No, we're not going, So I spent about 3 to 4 months being an assistant. And what happened was we were basically doing lending tree leads at that point. And so the lead would come in and it would get assigned to a loan officer, and each assistant had, maybe 10 loan officers. And our job was really to get the docs in for these lending tree leads and then hand them off to the loan officer to work them up, sell them, and, make the money on them. Well, I was like killing it. I was like getting in touch with all these people, getting all these stocks in. And so all these loan officers kept being like, well, we want Kim as our assistant, and then I had about 4 guys that were like, no, dude, you're so much more than this. Like, you need to be a loan officer. And, back in 2000, of course, we didn't have to have any license or anything like that. So I was like, okay, I'm going to be a loan officer. So that's really how I got started. And then I think for me, the reason I could separate it from sales was because I didn't feel like I was selling. Like I knew that you were, but I just didn't feel like it because for me, it was even from the start, just getting to know people and talk to people and build a relationship with people. So I think that was probably why in hindsight, I was like, okay with going right into sales.
Right.
You
So
know
now
what I
you
mean?
Yep. How long were you there for?
Nationwide Lending, I was there until 2008. And then I moved from California to Colorado. And when I was moving, I wanted to, I could have stayed remote, but I wanted to have something here. And so I left Nationwide. And it was really hard because, that's where I learned everything, and back then too, there was a lot, like we were all young, like there was not a lot of older loan officers, right? We were all young and, and dumb in a sense, like we didn't know any different. We thought like in 2004, because we were making $150,000 a year, we should be shopping at Armani, right? Because we were 28 years old. And so it was like we all kind of grew up together too, in that period, because that 8 years we went through a lot. And then when I moved here, I still stayed in retail. So I went to Pinnacle Mortgage when I moved here, and then jumped around at a couple of different places. And then what happened was I was at Citywide Home Loans, and I loved it. I loved Citywide. And I thought that that was where I was going to be. And then in 2019, I'm sorry, 2018, our leader of our division went over to cross country, and we all followed. And that was the best and the worst thing, right? Because it was the worst thing because I was really unhappy, but it was the best thing because it pushed me then to go into the broker world and open up my own shop. And so I opened up Mindful Mortgage in April of 2019.
Oh, perfect, perfect. And
Yeah.
then give me a little background on kind of what your company looks like. I mean, is it a one person shop? I mean, loan officers, processors, what do you got going on over there?
So we are here in Erie, Colorado. We have we have two loan officers here, an admin person, a junior, and a processor. And then we have a Colorado Springs. We have a loan officer, an LOA, and a processor. And I'm currently working on California because I have a lot of friends there. And so I would love to be able to open Mindful Mortgage because I'm licensed there, just my company is not yet. So I'd love to be able to open that in the Orange County area and grow it there too.
Perfect, perfect. And I can probably say you're not regretting this situation jumping over to the broker world, correct?
No, and it's so funny because it's like, I, for 18 years, we bashed brokers, right? And it was like, oh my God, who would ever want to work with a broker? And they suck. And like, there was probably a period when we were all falling apart that the brokers got hit the worst and that they couldn't get stuff done. But when I tell people now, like that's just not the case. I mean, nothing that we were taught is how it works today. Nothing, not one single thing. And I think that, how they see my business, like how my retail friends see my business, I think that I don't even have to say anything. They see it, because they're saying, okay, I mean, we post all the time, like our 1 day CTCs from UWM or, all the things like, I mean, my time frame from start to finish is beating any retail around me. So, it's kind of, I think that in general, our industry has changed. I
Yeah.
think it is changing. But I also think that the brokers that went out, in the last 3 to 5 years, the brokers that left retail and went out on their own are truly the best of the best, right? Because you had to have your own confidence and book of business and savvy to be able to make that jump. And so we're like representing, it's like the best representation of being a broker. They're saying
Right.
that.
Right. You know, it's funny. Literally yesterday, I spoke to a gentleman in my area. He's closing 90 deals per year. And he told me on purchases, and he's retail. He told me on purchases, it's taken him 45 days on average to close a loan. And on refinances, during one of our biggest refinance booms we've ever had, he said, no joke, Mark, it's taken 3 to 4 months.
Oh
I
my
said,
God.
how do you even how are you even in business? Like, how is this bank even in business? And so we had an eye-opening conversation. And I think it's important, not just even if you came from retail, but talking about your background. People want to know where you came from because there's always going to come doubt within this business at times where you go, can I do this? Am I fit
Yeah.
for this? But I love talking about people's background just like yours because it's so different and everyone's so different and they use their skills. I mean, you were in social work and now look at
Yeah.
you. I mean, so successful. So I love hearing about these backgrounds.
Well, and I think too, it's like, I don't know where the shift happened. I don't know. Don't you feel it was kind of like 3 to 5 years? It was like, you know, the broker world started changing. And I would say really in the last 18 months, I don't hear people say, "Oh, you're a broker." Like no one, not even in retail, because it is hard. My mom is still a loan officer and she's in retail, which of course that's part of why I want to open in California. And I'm like, oh my God, you got to get out. But not, what I'm saying. But
Yeah.
like, you're right. She was, at 45, 60 days on a refi. And I'm like, that even prevents you from doing business because it's like you're monitoring and managing a pipeline of nothingness, and it's preventing you from bringing in more business. It was crazy. It's crazy.
It it's nuts out there, but that's what, you're right. There has been a big shift, and I think it's because of this community coming together and really banding together. So
Yeah.
I mean, I couldn't be more proud of the community itself. So speaking of community, I know you're pretty
Yeah.
big into your community.
Yeah.
How do you organically build this community around you?
So, it just takes time. I mean, it's one of those things where when you're building a referral based business and you're building it in your community, it's going to take time. It's not going to be that you just get to hang a sign, like a banner at the football games and all of a sudden the business comes in. It really, it's
I know.
not about that. It's about like, I am very lucky. My son started off here at age 3. He's now a junior in high school. He's played football. He's played rugby. I've been on the PTO. Like it literally is that, it's literally getting involved and really, really, focusing on this was my thought. Okay. And I remember when I moved here, I said to my mom, I want to be at the post office. And this sounds so silly, but this is true. I want to be at the post office and somebody says to me, "Hey, Kim, I need to ask you some questions about financing," right? Because I want it to be that general of, I don't want to say general, but like where people trust me to be approached at the post office while I'm getting stamps. And Mark, I will never forget the day that it literally happened, literally at the post office. And I mean, I probably turned white as a ghost, right? Because I was like, "Oh my God, this is really happening." But I think that that's what it is. It's just over time. And, you know, I don't think I ever come across as selling. I really don't. I don't think I come across as a salesperson. I don't think that people see me that way. And maybe it's because, I treat people like you're my neighbor, like you're my son's teacher, like you're, the firefighter. I treat you as that. And so you treat me as a person and we don't have to worry about, you know, is she ripping me off? Like, I don't really think that people think I would rip them off because, well, I wouldn't,
Right.
or I wouldn't take advantage of them. I treat them like I'm going to run into them at Walgreens and I don't want to hide from them at Walgreens. Right.
Yep.
So I think that is really like what I think it's a philosophy. I don't think it's necessarily a strategy as a philosophy of, do you really want to be that person in your community? Even as realtors, I have a lot of realtors ask me, right? Because what I have captured, they have a harder time capturing. And probably because there's more of them, right? But they ask like, everywhere you go, somebody knows you, or on Facebook, it'll be on the Erie Facebook page. "Oh, I need a lender." And it's 85% Kim Clancy. And how do you get there? Well, because I don't fluff stuff. I just act like a normal person. That's it.
Yep.
And I love being involved. And so if you don't like being involved, maybe you have to pick a different way. Maybe you're just a leads person, right? You just have to follow what you excel in. I did leads for 10 years and then I woke up one day and I was like, "I'm never calling another lead again." Like never, right? And so that's when I had to change my strategy. But I love, I mean, we had our homecoming parade. Oh my God, my town is like the best town, right? Like we still are like super small town. We have a homecoming parade. All the football teams do the floats and all this kind of stuff. They throw candy out at the people. Well, I opened up my office and just had like food and drinks. And I mean, I probably had 30 people in my office at any given time during the homecoming parade. And because they all know each other, or
Right.
like one person, you know what I mean? And it's like that has to be the way that you want to run your business. And if it is, then you just start being present. That's it.
Absolutely, and I agree with you with the philosophy thing, and but you got to stay the course as well, and I tell so many people, especially kind of getting into the industry because I preach community quite a bit, even here in your local community, but it's just stay the course and don't look at it as an ROI. There's no
No.
ROI in this. If you do that, you're going to fail. I promise you, because you're going to put that ROI first. So, no, you're absolutely right. Don't come across as a salesperson. You already said you're not a salesperson in the beginning of this podcast, which is great. And I don't like salespeople either. I like people who want to help other people.
Yeah. And I mean, and like you said it best, it's just like, you can't give up. But that's what I'm saying is I kind of feel like if you believe in that philosophy of like wanting to help people, it's not something that you give up, right? Because it is actually who you are. And so the ROI on it doesn't matter. Like, I don't even track. I remember about a year and a half ago, I hired somebody to do marketing and she was awesome, but she came from like a very marketing kind of background. And, like I do pop buys, you probably know these, like the little gifts. I mean, I do that's my how I market. That is literally how I market, right? And she was like trying to track the ROI of this. And I was like, no, like that's not something you track. I don't care. I mean, yes, we should make sure that, we're not spending $10,000 on Popeyes and nothing is, and people aren't acknowledging it. You know what I mean? But like, short of that, I don't need to know how much it was dollars and cents. And did I get this lead or whatever, because that's just not the way I run it.
Yep. It's funny. I'll call it my girl who kind of runs my business, on the back end of stuff. She said, Mark, do you know how much you've spent on just sponsorships and stuff this year? I said, nope. And I don't want to know. I,
No.
I mean, that sounds really bad. I mean, I will find out and then I will analyze it a bit, but no, that's not what it's about for me. I have the ability right now. I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
People get joy out of it. I absolutely love it.
I love it. Like, I love being sponsors at things. And it's like, you know, I mean, you're right. I don't even know. I mean, I have if somebody asked me, was it 1,000? I would say no, because I probably know that. Was it 10? Maybe. Like, I really don't know. But you know what? What ends up happening too is that then people start asking you to do things and they kind of give you like they let you take the reins, right? So like when they realize that you're showing up, all right, like this is what I mean. So I'm a sponsor at a school. It's a charter school here, Aspen Ridge. Okay. I'm one of their sponsors. So, they have their fall festival last weekend. And it's like, oh, because you're a sponsor, like you can have a booth or you don't have to have a booth. And so like some of these sponsors like come in, with all their gizmos and gadgets and all this, and they're going to sell this insurance or they're going to sell blah, 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 right? All this. I literally came in with 300 cupcakes and sprinkles, and every kid got a cupcake and they got to decorate it to take it home. That was what I did. And it's like that's what I try to teach people, is it has nothing to do with my business. It has nothing to do with that. I don't need to give them swag. I don't need to give them, okay, well, we're going to do this or that. You just kind of do cool things and people like it and then they remember you. It's really that simple, right?
It is simple. It truly is. And no, you're hitting all of my soft spots right now, which I
Yeah.
absolutely love. All right. So you have someone who's kind of up and coming, or they just entered the industry, and even if they came from retail, which sometimes they do larger things or nothing in the
Yeah.
community, what bit of advice would you give them? Like, where would you tell them to start?
Um, It would depend on what kind of person it is. So if you're a person and you have young kids, that's probably one of the easier ways to break in, I think, is because you can join the PTO, you can be the team mom, you can, any all these kind of things. It's easier a little bit to break in with younger kids. So I would say do something like that. If you don't have kids or you have older kids, then one of the things I do 4 times a year is I take things to every single school. We have 11 schools in Erie, and elementary, middle. I take like a thing of cookies, or at St. Patty's Day, like we do these little bags of like candy and stuff like that, like just kind of doing little things like that. That's gonna put you, or like, at the liquor store, they are like, they always ask me to do all the magnets for all the sports teams. I don't know
Oh, yeah.
why, like, right? So it's like, I think that would like just, yeah, it's so stupid, but I'm all, okay,
No,
all
no,
right.
yeah, just say, I mean, yeah, this is how it happens, and then it's
It,
organic.
yeah, and so I think, figure out, it's not going to be the same for everybody. Figure out where you are, and if you're in a place, where you have a kindergartner, so what? Just become the classroom parent, dad or mom, right? Become the classroom parent, because it's not about selling your business, it's about people getting to know you, and then your business sells for you, and that's it.
Right. Perfect. I love it.
Yeah.
Absolutely love it. I need to take a second here, just take that all in, and hope everyone else takes that in. I mean, because it's important. And that's, we can sit here and talk about rates and how we get better rates in retail. We can sit here and talk about how, service, but being involved in your community is a big separator for us. So
Yeah,
let me
agree.
shift gears here really quick.
Okay.
Fuse just happened. I don't know when this will be released, but Fuse happened recently. Let's just say that.
Yes.
Okay. One of the bright spots in my eyes, considering that the last time we had a women's mortgage network summit, we'll call it, there was 40 people there right before the virus
Oh
hit.
my gosh.
In Vegas, we had 400 part
I just
of the
got
same time.
goosebumps. I just got
I know, right?
goosebumps. What the
It's
heck?
I absolutely love it. I mean, I'm not too active in that group for obvious reasons, I hope. But tell me, what's your favorite thing about it? Being part of those types of groups right there.
I think that being in this business and being a woman, you see things differently than men, right? Because we have a different experience. A man didn't walk in 20 years ago and was the only man loan officer, right? And so I think that women, we have all gone through something similar to that. Whether if it's little or big, if you've been in for 5 years or you've been in for 20 or 30, because there still are a lot of places that I call it the boys club, and there still are a lot of shops that are the boys club style. And so I think that being a part of these groups, you know, we're able to be more honest about what's going on within ourselves, because we don't feel like we're going to be judged by men. And I hate like it sounding like this, because it's not at all like men are terrible, but you're asking me, and that's really the truth of it, and I don't want to undermine that, like that. I remember about a year ago when it was just chaos. I mean, it was, chaos. And it was like, I feel like a lot of moms were struggling, and I'm not saying that dads weren't, but a lot of moms were struggling because we were so busy. And it was like, we had this guilt 24/7. And I had posted on the WMN Facebook page, like, what the F? I'm like falling apart. Is anybody else falling apart? And it was like 300 comments. Yes, I'm falling apart. You know what I mean? And it's like,
Yeah.
I don't think that we would say that on the Brokers Are Better page, because there's guys on there and we wouldn't want to seem weak.
That's an
That's it.
interesting take on that, I mean, but it's important because I've never considered myself that way, you know what I mean? But at the same time, listen, it's out there, okay?
Yeah.
But just the fact that you're sharing with us how you feel, that's how you feel. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because you just have to be careful, because you don't want to come across like there. I think that part of a lot of change that's happening with women in this business is not so much of us, like, I am woman, hear me roar, breaking through, nothing like that, right? As I mean, kind of maybe a little bit, but I think it's also men like you, like our Gen X and younger, right, who are coming from a different place now, that they're not trying to put their thumb over women, right? And they're not trying to hold women down, and they're supportive, and they're like, you are just as good as me, and I probably think you're better, right? And so I think that the men have equally changed how women are viewed in this business as women have.
That's a
That's
that's a
awesome.
great way of saying it. Okay, so let's say we have a new female broker coming on, loan officer, and she wants to get involved, right? How would you suggest getting involved?
Well, of course I would say, obviously join AIM, obviously get on the broker page and get on the Women Mortgage Network page. Getting involved in those two organizations is really going to make you feel that you're supported. And I can see where like newer people, and even if you're a dude and you're on the BAB page and you have a question, sometimes people aren't as nice as they should be with their responses. And so I think, as a woman, we at least have the outlet of those two groups that we can get on there and ask, and you're going to get help. I mean, and, I'm always fascinated that in retail, and I'm sure anybody in retail can feel this, we're competitive by nature, right? If you're in sales, you're competitive by nature. But we were also like pushed that, we were supposed to be the best in our company, but our company was supposed to be the best in the area, and the area was supposed to be the best in the country. You see what I mean? Like it was always like, who's better, who's better, who's better. And that is not what happens in the broker world. If I don't know why, we're competitive, of course, but I think more with ourselves, right? And so
Mhm.
it's like, before, if you were in retail and, a woman asked or a man asked you for advice on something, you were almost fearful to give it to them because you didn't want them to steal your idea or you didn't
Right.
want them to, right? Isn't that true?
Oh
And
yeah.
I don't feel that ever. I really never feel that in people share things all the time. And I'm even like, damn, they shared that? Like that's going out because it's inbred. 18 years is inbred in my head of like not being that way. And so I just think, you just have to get involved in that kind of stuff. And you'll find, those two Facebook pages are really, really helpful. And you'll see that like certain women will not only reach out to you and answer your questions, but you can feel that they make themselves available outside of a Facebook page. So you
Yeah.
just gotta, don't be afraid, just do it.
Yeah. I mean, I was just about to say, I get asked this all the time, like, okay, what do I do? How do I get involved? And I'm like, okay, it starts with the Facebook group pages. Let's just be honest here. I mean, that's where a
Yeah.
lot of our community lives, which is great. You know what I mean? I said, just don't be shy. Just
Mm-mm.
get in there. I guarantee you, with the 12,000 people in BAB, the hundreds of thousands of people that we have in WMN, someone has felt your way. And no matter what, somewhere they're going to give you support. There's always going to be keyboard warriors out there, and
Yeah.
I get that, you know what I mean. But at the same time, the greater good of everything will always come through within those groups.
I've never heard that keyboard warrior. That's pretty crafty. I'm impressed. That'll
I
be
would like
my
to,
new word for the day.
I'd like to say I made that up, but I'm pretty sure I stole that from somewhere.
Wow,
But
that's pretty crafty.
yeah, so no, and that's awesome, and thank you for sharing. It's important, and I'm telling you, we have more groups coming like that, and it's not to diversify per se. It's just to have different types of support. Is
Well,
the
and
way
I
I
think
like
that
to look at it.
yeah, and I think even the A mentorship program, I think that's a great program, and I think that you know, really trying to build a relationship with, I mean, I learned the business. I'm sure you learned the business by following people who knew the business. And
Mhm.
sometimes in a broker world, it's a little bit tougher because you might feel a little bit more secluded, right? Because and especially in COVID, where everybody is working from home now and all this kind of stuff. And so I think that, you know, AIM does a great, great job at making sure the resources are out there for people. And so you just have to jump in.
I'm going to go off script here real quick because then we're going to lead into our final question. I mean, we're all busy, and thank you for taking time out today. I'm going to thank you probably seven more times with this. So you brought up AIM a few times, and you're a huge supporter of us, and I absolutely love it. What's your favorite thing about AIM?
The community really
Yeah.
is what it is because I did, when I first went out on my own, you do feel like kind of a lost soul in a big fish pond, right? And then it's like once I became more invested in AIM invested more in me. right? And so, and whether they intended to or not, it was like you just become more of a group. And you know what's so crazy is like 3/4 of the people you don't even know. You have conversations with like your like childhood friends, right? Isn't that true? Like
Yeah,
I
it's
will
so
literally
true.
be talking to people and I'll be like, I never even met this person face to face. And I like talk to them like we saw each other last weekend. I mean, and I've never felt that. So I mean that's what I think it brings.
Yeah, and I love going to these events because, I have these conversations with people all the time and all over, and we all have our different little pockets. And then, for example, at Fuse, people are coming up and saying, "Mark, I'm so and so, John Smith," and I'm like, "Oh my God, you look nothing like your Facebook profile." Oh, like, and then it's just easy. It's just easy going. So
Yeah.
no, and that's my favorite thing too. And if you've ever heard any of my little presentation speeches, I say my favorite thing about AIM, the thing I love the most is the community.
Yeah.
So, all
Yeah. You
right,
don't feel
let me.
alone.
Nope, absolutely not. All right, let me hit you with the last question. Then we'll get out of
Yeah.
your hair. And once again, thank you for being with us
Thank
today.
you.
So let's just say you have an audience in front of you. You have the stage. You got people who have been there, in the mortgage industry for 1 month, 1 year, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. You're Kim Clancy. You're up there, and you want to give us all some advice. What would it be?
Be true to yourself and everybody will feel it. Don't try to, don't try to create something that you aren't because people know when people are fake and people know when you're not truthful and honest with them. And so you have to follow your own instincts, your own intuition. You have to follow who you are as a person. And if you stand by that and you live by that, then you're going to be successful.
Pretty darn awesome right there. And it's true. It is true. I've told people like, okay, you always want to try to step outside your box a little bit. I mean, we all have to because we all have to evolve. We all have to grow, but don't be someone you're not. Don't try to be this flamboyant person when you're not, but be accessible.
Yeah. Or get
So
another job. There you go.
wow, cutthroat. Kim, you are
Well,
cutthroat, but
one or the other. You
no,
know.
that's awesome. No, no, this is all great stuff today, Kim. Listen, I appreciate your time as always. Your viewpoints I think are right in line with not only mine, but I think a lot of our community as well. So, I just want to thank you for sharing everything you shared with us today.
Thank you so much. It was so great to be here, Mark. Thank you so much.
Awesome. And brokers. All right. If you want to get caught up on all of our past podcast episodes, please head over to aimgroup.com/broker to broker. Once again, that's aimgroup.com/broker to broker. And you can also access us from our member portal as well, our new member portal that we released at Fuse. So you can also listen to all the other broker podcasts on iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, anywhere else where you can download podcasts. Do me a favor, get in there, subscribe to it, rate our podcast, and leave a review. It helps us get the podcast out there and spread the word that brokers are better. Kim, and you fit that mold perfectly.
Thank you, buddy. Have a great day.
All right, you too. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.